Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to another Workflow Wednesday. My name is Fusion Phil over here at jitcadcam, and this week we are going to be covering drawings inside of Autodesk Fusion. With that being said, I did not get enough time to rehearse, and some of you are probably questioning my choices on camera controls. We play around with a lot of things over here just to see what we can get and see what's going to work better for all of you guys. We're going to give this a couple of seconds since we just kicked it off. I want to go ahead and make sure that we have chat out there. Chat can hear me. Go ahead, and if you guys can hear me, go ahead and let me know down inside of the chat area that my audio is all right. I look all right. I did move my office around in the house, so I'm in a little different area. We got Travis, we got Bogdan. Awesome, guys. Super excited for today. Can you guys see through the green screen? Can you see my background coming through me? That's the only thing. Monty is new. He's actually been messaging me all morning. He is the reason, guys. Blame Monty as to why I didn't get time to practice. Ghost Phil. Yeah, 100%. I'm trying NVIDIA Broadcast to see if it likes this better versus having to put up the old green screen and play around with all the lighting and everything like that. So with no further ado, let me go ahead and refresh this one more time. I see obviously there's 4 people here. I don't know how many other people are here, but let's dive into it. Let's dive into drawings. I'm going to go ahead and switch my screen, which means I need to get some stuff moved around here. You guys should be able to see my screen pretty easily. Oh, we forgot to hide the old taskbar for this one, but oh well, guys, we're gonna run with it, right? So as you guys can see, we're inside of Fusion 360. Now, some of you already have played around with drawings as a whole. I am going to start with the basics by just grabbing a simple part here. And this is just nothing more than an individual part. And we're going to run through a couple of different workflows with drawings. I don't know how long this is going to take today. This might actually end up as quite a long video, as some people may or may not know. But what we're going to do is we're going to start out in the design workspace. Now, the first step I would recommend is that you create your own drawing template, and I'm going to walk you through that at a very high level. Now, bear with me. It's been a while since I've had to do this, so a lot of things have changed over time, but we're going to go ahead and say new drawing template. We're going to set up our page size. In this case, I like the idea of a 8.5 by 11 standard printer paper. We're going to go landscape layout. Of course, if you believe in the non-bald eagle units, you could set that up here as well. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And now from that, I've just noticed out of the corner of my eye, I need to figure out my lighting because the white coming off my screen is making me look way worse. I promise, guys, I don't look this bad. Maybe I can very quickly here throw on my tan filter. Let's see here. Let's am I a little better there? I'm a little more golden now. There we go. So what the idea here is we are not only just building the template. If you guys wanted to insert something like, in this case, I've actually already pulled it in, is my logo for Autodesk Fusion, right? So if I wanted to create my own logo or put my own actual image in here, as you guys can see, I've inserted that image into the area. I'm going to actually back that up, and I'm going to do that one more time here, because we need to get it a little closer to where I want it. But the other side of this is we're going to have to scale this down in my case. So let's just go 0.6. Oh, still not quite enough. 0.5. Now, keep in mind the resolution size. This is a 500 by 500 image. Things of that nature, you're going to have to control on your end, right? I just brought this in as a PNG file, nothing fancy. So a few other things you could always add in. Let's say, for example, you like the idea of, I always want to put in a standard tolerance. And in this case, we're just going to say it's usually plus or minus 5. Now, this is where I tell most people to skip any dimension on my part that's plus or minus 5, or maybe your standard dimension is plus or minus 3. And again, what we're doing is we're building out our template to use for later items, right? So as you can see here, we've added an image. We can go ahead and edit this entire project area and your title block. Again, I just double clicked on it. We could obviously set anything and everything. We can even change out what's automatically being pulled. There's an entire manual that I forgot to put in the link of this video. I'll add it after the video on how to configure this and set it up. So again, what we're next going to do is I am going to insert a table in this case. And what that table is going to be is basically it's going to be the breakdown. And this is an automated table. And what this is going to do is automatically place our information as we need it. Again, you can go through, you can define this kind of like an Excel spreadsheet, pretty straightforward. Next, we can actually add our placeholders. So I can add a base placeholder. Now, what this is going to be at first is, again, with that common workflow, we're setting our defaults in our template level, right? So as you guys can see, is I'm going to do the entire assembly. From that assembly, I would like that to be a shaded part. I can scale it automatically, or I can force my own scale. Again, pretty common. We're not actually going to add anything automatically to any of our parts, because the idea is this is kind of like a title sheet or a cover letter to my drawing. So it's, again, a big image of my part. And then from there, we have our built out spreadsheet, which our data should come through automatically. Again, guys, it's been a hot minute since I've had to work deeply on this, but we're going to go ahead and add a second page. And you're going to see why when we get into certain things later. Again, I'm going to put my placeholder. In this case, this might be the actual individual component. Now, if you haven't seen any of my content, this is where you guys are going to see a component is the Bible of everything. And that's why this is so important. Again, this is just going to be a shade. Actually, let's just do a visible edges only. And we are going to center mark, center line holes. And what you're going to see now is if I wanted to go ahead and click and drag to the right, again, I'm placing my different views of my part. And let's go ahead and get that up there. We're going to hit the green arrow. And now you can see it's automatically going to place my part as need be. Again, keep in mind, we went ahead and did our center marks on holes. We could turn off those center marks at any time. And you guys are seeing that update in real time with me toggling it on and off. Same thing happens with additional features as always. Now, I prefer to make my part in the corner a lovely color shaded part. Again, I can individually change each item, but they're all being driven off more or less what is the parent product inside of the software, right? So I see more and more of you guys coming and going here. Hey guys, always great to have you inside the software. Again, what I'm doing is I'm not necessarily, and for those of you that have just jumped in, we're just building a template right now. I haven't even used a part. We don't need to make 100 placed parts, right? This is my default placement for each individual component. Obviously, if I wanted to go in and I had sheet metal parts, again, we would place one based on a folded component. Maybe you want to do one based off of a flat component. Again, as you guys are seeing me do here, I'm just roughly placing, and these are placeholders for anything we're going to do after the fact. So again, I don't think I have any sheet metal parts, but we'll go ahead and build a few out just in case, right? So again, now we have a couple of things placed. Again, title block customization. It's relatively simple here how far you're going to get with this, but we're going to go ahead and save this. And now this is where I'm going to call this, of course, the jitcadcam title block. Or actually, we'll just call it drawing, right? So now that we've officially created our template drawing, Ryan, great to see you. I saw your comment earlier, buddy, about being ecstatic about this one. So again, the reason why building the template is so important, and again, that was a quick crash course. As you guys know, these videos are aimed to just give you enough to be dangerous for you guys to go play with this, is now if I actually wanted to go out and create a drawing from this design, what you're going to notice is, one, we have a lot of different options from how we want to pick our stuff. Now, I'm going to do this manually the first time through, and the second time we're going to do it automatic. This is the only exception to the rule why I tell people on my drawings, I machine from the model, the drawing comes from the model. The only information I care about on this model is really pertinent information like the whole spec data and any feature that's critical. And you guys will see this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down and we're actually going to say from our template file. And what you're going to notice is it's locked us out on everything. Again, we have the ability to say first level only, all levels. Again, this is not an assembly file. This is only a part file. So we're only going to do one part first time through, and then we're going to pull up an assembly and have a little bit more fun with it. But as we talked about, right, remember when we created our template, we created several different views down here or several different sheets. The thing is since it's only one component, it has placed that one component and automatically laid out all of my features here inside of Fusion, right? So if I wanted to move it around now, of course, I have full range over moving things around. If I wanted to, for example, not actually have center marks on this, again, as you guys can see, as we can go through, turn things on, turn things off. Maybe I want to change my scale, particular for this one part. And then I'm going to change my scale up here at the top. So 1 out of 2, so it's nice and pretty. Again, we could drag things apart. I can modify the drawing even after the template has done its thing, right? So this is super handy at the end of the day. Now that we have done our drawing, this is where we can start to do a lot more things with this. Now, so the most basic thing a lot of people are going to want to do is you're going to want to dimension your drawing, right? So I am actually going to skip all the way over here to the right. And what I'm going to aim for is we are going to start by setting up our dimensions. So now you need to keep in mind is there's like dimensioning everything from point to point and here, there, and everywhere. Now, if you're somebody that does a little bit more things along the lines of like GD and T critical stuff, we may want to create our datum and work from a datum. So what I could do is I could actually say ordinate dimension in this case. And let's say that's going to come right off this corner. And as you can see, I now have my 0 point. So maybe the next thing I want to measure inside of this part is this flat right here. So again, I'm picking that flat, again, dragging that out to the side. Now, again, we can just continue on with this process. But one thing you're going to notice is all of these have kind of been placed in random positions and they're not really aligned to each other, right? Now, there's a trick to this where once I placed my first dimension, what I can actually do, if it still works, let's go ahead and see here real quick. We're going to go ahead and delete these two. But if I was to go back now and use the Smart Dimension tool, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick that first line. And then if I drag up and pick anything along the way, what you're going to notice, again, is it's automatically aligning everything for me based on those reference points. So even when I get in here and start placing stuff in some weirder areas, again, you have complete range and functionality of placing stuff where you need it on your drawing, right? Oh, I went ahead and hit delete there. Again, we just pull that first ordinate dimension. Let's just say we're going to place these 3 holes. Now, the Smart Dimensioning tool is basically going to be the easiest way to do anything inside of the software. Again, if I wanted to use the Dimension tool, I want to do this hole right here. As you can see, I can go ahead and grab that edge of that hole, or if I misplaced that hole, you have the ability to, of course, delete, pick again, because we actually want that inner bore. Now, from this, if I needed, like I've said to people, right? To me, this is how I dimension a part. So if I'm going to make this part on the floor and my customer has not provided a drawing for me, this is my take on this, right? I would only care about a few things. One would be outside dimensions of my part so that I know my stock size to order for manufacturing. And we're going to get these on here pretty quick. So there's my outside dimensions. And then lastly, we need a thickness. Now, where you place these, of course, always comes down to you guys. But what I'm looking for, again, rough dimensions. Now, notice we didn't add text in our template to show us right here that our ±5 or ±3 call out. Again, that is a template controlled thing. We only did it on that cover sheet. We didn't do it here at the individual component level. But if I wanted this hole, for example, to have a specific tolerance to it, I could actually double click on that. And what that's going to allow me to do is to go through and decide how wild do I want to get with it, right? So I want to be ±3 places. I want to go to 4 places if it's there. Maybe I want to add all of my trailing zeros. So again, even though this is only a 3/8 hole, we're going to call it now as 4 decimal places. And I think a lot of you've seen on your drawing that it'll say 4 decimal places. There's ±5/10 or something, right? So again, if we were to put that down here on our template when we created our template, it would automatically be there for what we're doing. Now, if I want to get even fancier than that, I could go ahead and throw in additional tolerancing. Maybe, if we've all seen it now, right? So this is the stuff that drives me mad, is a lot of us have talked about plus or minus from a number, but some of us have always seen, you know, a plus, right? Or like 2-dimensional tolerancing greater or smaller than our part. Again, nominally when we draw that hole, in this case, we need to either be nominal size, and then I could do something like +1 or +10 in this case, -0. Again, when you get in here and start to change the number of placeholders, my tolerancing is updating as well. So again, if you're one of those people that believe in using another increment altogether and you want to show these both on your same file, maybe I also want to put millimeters into play, 3 decimal places for millimeters. We want to go ahead and make sure we have our trailing zeros once again. Again, nothing right or wrong here. You guys have the ability to control each and every one of these, and you can even actually set up things like inspection callouts as well. Again, a lot of different things when you're basing your information on your drawing. This is important to me. If I needed that to be a precise hole, I need to tell the operator that this is a precise hole, right? The whole game plan here is to communicate the data outside of, in my opinion, the standard to the drawing. So here we have a +10, -0 situation. Here it is in millimeters. We've bubble outlined it in this case specifically so that that guy that is running the machine, or if you're going to place this in the parts bin, has the ability to see this. Now, some of the other tools you guys will start to see here, again, we can actually call out holes and thread notes. So if I go ahead and click, actually, I'm going to click the automatic note function. And if I pick this hole here and drag outwards, what you're going to notice is because at my model level, we have made these threaded holes, which means in my drawing side of things, when I use that, again, smart note feature, it's automatically called out all the information about my hole for me. So again, this is something super handy at the end of the day. You can go through, you can add anything and everything that you need. As you can see, we can actually insert the feature properties. Again, all up to you guys, what you guys want to do at the end of the day to make this as great or as little as you want. Now, see, one thing to keep in mind, it is calling out 5 times on the one side of my part. We do have 2 sides of this part. So again, depending on how your feature tree was built, I want to go ahead and double check my feature tree here real quick. Looks like we did do some patterning here, but we created one hole here and one hole here, and then we've patterned everything out. So again, sometimes your feature tree makes all of the difference at the end of the day when it comes down to doing your drawing side of things. So it should be referencing 10. However, it's not in this case because of how I created all of those holes. And as you guys will start to find out, that this is why there's things like the hole tool, placing your holes based on point locations, and things to make your workflow, again, much cleaner here now in the drawings workspace, right? So again, a few other things we might want to add in. You guys saw it. I went ahead and turned off things like hole centers. We can actually go back to our geometry side. We could drop a hole center mark based on a feature if you wanted to access that, again, as kind of a datum situation. If we went in and we said, let's create an ordinate dimension based on certain features, again, I could set that based on this line right here. Oh, we're getting a little laggy here. So there is now my 0. And then if I go down here, and then if I go back up here, what you're noticing again is we're setting something with almost a datum and working off of that datum. So cool other couple of features I think a lot of people don't realize that's in here is the ability to actually insert tables. So again, as we can use an automated table, of course, what this automated table is going to allow me to do is, one, cloudy up my drawing a ton. But again, we can drag and drop stuff anywhere we need it. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way as well. So if it's going to be a little difficult today, we might actually just delete this so you guys, oh, nope, we got to grab the little node in the middle. We're going to get this. Let's just put it down here. There we go. Now, again, cool things you guys can do here, calling out your part numbers, part names, your material in itself. Again, Autodesk has made this very easy to add just about any information that you want against this part so that it is making it easier for your operators or whoever's going to use this to control it, right? So again, we're going to go ahead and get this dimension out of the way so I don't lose my mind. Everything's starting to get cloudy here, so we may need to make a late decision about, hey, you know what? I need this to be smaller. I need this to be bigger. So again, you have your bubble call outs. We've called that out based on creating an actual, title block. Again, very easy to do. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to scale this down because we're going to look at doing a few other things here. So what I'm going to do now is, again, we're going to move this over, still having to move our parent part in order to get our child parts to move around. But this is where, just like everything else in Fusion, when we first came in here, I've kind of jumped over the workflow where we got straight to dimensioning, because most people want to know, how do I just dimension out my part? How do I add, the notes for the whole features for my guys, things like that. But normally what we want to do is we usually want to create your base view. We've already placed our base view in our projected views. So if I wanted to add another projected view at any time, again, we can grab that projected view off any one of our placed areas. Again, you're seeing an isometric view because I went downwards at kind of like that 7, 8 o'clock position, right? Now with that, again, it's just a projected view from the view I pulled, isometric bottom of my part. We can do a lot more things, as well as getting into your break view type stuff. If you have a very long part, we can actually shrink it down. So if you're running shafts, break view will allow you to break that drawing and scoot it much closer together. A lot of people love the section view as well if you're doing turning parts. Now, section view is always fun because, as what you're going to see here is, I said section view based on this enclosure. And what I'm doing is I'm placing my first point, my second point. And now what that allows me to do is give me a section view of my part. Again, visible edges only. And as you can see, we're now looking at a hashed profile of the inside cavity of our electronics enclosure. Again, a lot of this stuff is going to snap to locations the same as your sketching does. So as you saw there with that actual section view, I was able to snap directly to points on my part. Again, I could drag this up now at any time. We could also rearrange these to get them a little closer. Depending on where you put them will also change your section view. As you guys can see, is if we're not at the true 12 o'clock position, 9 o'clock position, everything and anything is going to come through automatically. So again, as you can see, I could do a lot in a manual process, but now for my guys on the floor or whoever's going to run this part, if I was still using a very traditional manual workflow, as you guys are seeing here, is I would only give them the bare minimum data that they really need to be able to utilize and create this part, right? As you saw, we called out our critical hole dimension. We really don't need any of this other stuff. My shipping and ordering guide needs, rough stock size for ordering material. And we kind of have that all placed here, right? We also have our hole tolerance call out. So I could save this drawing. The nice thing about that is going to auto place it inside of our project area. And as you guys may or may not know, and you may have seen this, is if you're going to go somewhere now and I need to actually take this simple enclosure and reuse it, is if I go in and I say copy this, it's going to give me the option to include my drawing with it. Why is that important? Well, if you were actually going to create a drawing for a jig or a fixture or a vise setup for your machine, the value here is, if you're using parameters or the actual configurations page, as a lot of people is doing now, we can actually have that drawing also generated to go with it every time you copy it over to your part file for manufacturing. So again, the nice thing is because the drawing is tied to the model, at any time if this model was to change, let's get back to my base features. You guys are going to see me completely break this thing probably. And we're going to go 3x6. Again, made that part much larger. Maybe we're going to increase our pattern out a little bit further. As soon as I hit save here, in the typical fashion of things being linked inside of Fusion, my drawing now tells me, hey, my simple enclosure needs to be updated. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that update button. It brought in that new size. And you guys see, of course, my dimensions have all updated accordingly. Anything that I had placed or called out. Now, I do need to do a little rearranging to get it reorganized in here, but let's go ahead and shift gears here real quick. Let's go back, and I'm going to save this just so I have it, but this time let's create our drawing from the side of doing things with the automatic drawing dimensioning system. So what we're going to do again is we're going to use my same exact template. We're going to go ahead and hit OK, and we're going to let Fusion do its thing. So it actually started itself for creating that enclosure drawing. And what you're seeing now is it's very snappy, given this is a pretty simple thing that we've done. So we're going to go ahead and open this up and take a look at what it's done for us. Now, if you've ever used anything from simulation to generative design inside of Autodesk, again, my template has placed my parts, so I may need to move them around. But first, I need to actually edit the auto dimensioning. So as you guys can see, there's a lot of different ways for you to call this out. Again, we can simply jump from the baseline dimension to ordinate dimension. I can increase the density. I can decrease it. Again, what that allows you to do is how many drawing dimensions do you really want to add here, right? Do I want to call out every single little thing in every single area? You guys are seeing all of my chamfers are even being called out on this part. So again, this is super neat and super quick for the drawing side of things to efficiently place anything and everything that you guys have, again, for the ability of manufacturing, right? That's the end goal each and every time. Now that we've placed everything, of course, we can go back, we can move things around, get them where we want them, move our dimensioning to wherever we need to call it out and place it, right? So a few things that are still missing, I might have to go back and add my critical dimensioning. Again, we can actually change our default settings inside of Fusion 360 as we're going as well. So we have everything from a sheet setting, our title block can be swapped out, our fonts, again, full customization inside of Fusion. So now to see our template work a little bit better here, I'm going to go ahead and pivot. We're going to go ahead and open up a part that is actually more of an assembly, right? So if I was to take this Kurt Weiss, this is just a blank jig and fixture. I haven't placed a part or anything in here, but it is structured with components. And one additional thing, as you guys are seeing, is we also have the animation side of things. I haven't made any videos on animation. There hasn't been a ton added to it. But if you guys wanted to, I'm going to show you how to do this real quick. Let's go ahead and delete everything out of here real fast. So if you wanted to go through and create an exploded view of something, right? So as you guys can see here, here is my timeline at the bottom. I could go in and I could do automatic explode all levels. Of course, we got to pick our part first. And what that is going to do, again, is give us an exploded view of everything inside that file. Once you have that exploded view, of course, this is where when we go back with the idea of drawing from design or drawing from animation, we can create, again, a drawing based on whatever we have inside the software. Now, keep in mind, I don't have a template built at this point to be able to go off of the animation. So we're just going to say from scratch. Again, we're going to go back to a letter placement. And what this is going to do, again, is allow me to place an exploded view of my part inside of the software, right? So again, the nice thing is that you can also do exploded views if you're somebody doing more of assembly work and things of that nature. Now, I believe there is a way, and it's been a while, again, since I've had to do it, is to place in an exploded view after the fact. Now, I can't remember where it was, and this is where I'm going to, again, place my blame on old Monty out there, because he's been hogging all my time this morning with a ton of questions. But we have some neat stuff for you guys on Friday. But the idea is still the same, right? You're able to place that in there. You're able to use that exploded view, as you guys can see, for anything that you're doing. Now, again, we're going to go back this time. This time, we're going to do our drawing from a design. We're going to go ahead and actually, let's get back here. We're going to jump from here back to design, drawing from design. Now, I believe I am actually mistaken on this. We have to go back and find our template, which I'm pretty sure yours truly put that in the other folder. So again, pro tip here, don't save your template with your part. Put your template over in another file folder location. So as you can see, again, we're going to do, based on my template, we're going to do manual placements, and then we're going to actually do all levels here. So what this is going to do is now you're going to see is a bunch of sheets are populating down here at the bottom of my screen. Again, that is individually placing each component inside of this file. Now, I didn't get the automated template for my actual breakdown, but as you guys can see, we can go as if we did it before. We go in, we're going to go and insert our automatic table. That automatic table is now giving us our numbers and everything. Maybe we want to now change up and look at this in a isometric view. I always get the isometric views wrong, so bear with me, guys. There we go. So there is a picture of what we're going to work on. Getting into my next area, here's my placement for my first piece. Here's my bolts. Here's my jaws. Everything and anything as we run down through this part. So again, the value of the template when you're going to go out and actually design and make stuff is night and day difference, as you can see, when you have your parts placed accordingly and how it's going to lay everything out. Again, this is my stock size, right? So we're going to go ahead and throw in a table here. That table is going to tell us now that is our stock. Of course, I want my guys to know the size of the stock in this case. So again, we're just going to go ahead and place those couple of dimensions that I want, and I can work with that in a lot of different ways, right? So again, everything and anything is going to be set up based on how you guys want to do it. Again, when you're getting into this, you're going to start to see my standard tolerance comes out, because when we built that template, we said we always want to do basically an assembly or a sub-assembly version of that, right? So when you look at the way my component structure is, this is a component full of components. So this is actually an assembly, which is why I get what I call the Tetris block effect. And again, a component with components inside of it. A component, again, with components inside of components. So again, when you really get all the way down inside this file here, I have a set of parallels. And that set of parallels is a sub-assembly and a sub-assembly that rolls up to a main assembly in some type of fashion. And we're seeing that in the drawing area, right? So again, at one point, we get far enough down here. And what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and flip this back into our isometric view. So you can see there's two parallels in this file. If I go ahead and place my table here, as you're going to see, we have component 1 and component 2, a quantity of 1 each. Those are two parallels. That one level higher falls into an assembly. So again, here we're back up. So you have the complete assembly here. And again, we'll isometric this so you guys can see it. So there's my stock sitting on the two parallels. Inside of my actual model design, we actually have a stock with parallels. So if I was to isolate this, you're seeing exactly this being transformed and laid out inside the software because of how we built that template, right? So again, as there's my stock, there's the stock itself, there's the two parallels in a sub-assembly. Again, not the best of organization, but as you guys start to play around with this, you guys will notice that a lot of this becomes extremely user-friendly. And as you do one thing on one side, it of course affects everything on the other side. So here again, we're just going to say, let's place our table. There's my table. As you can see, here's one stock, here's two parallels. And as you're seeing, we could actually take this even further. We're going to go all levels just by double clicking and editing that field. Again, you can see in the event I did a better job at this, we would have, of course, this organized. Both of our parallels would actually be a quantity of 2 versus a quantity of 1 each. This is just the way that Kurt Weiss comes in. Nobody copy and pasted anything. If I was to go back, of course, now, and let's say we actually label this, I'm going to call it para A. I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to paste that. And what we're going to do is we're just going to slide it over a little bit for visual confirmation. So now you have 1, you have 2. We hit save. It's all still inside of our sub-assembly, the way everything's rolling up. And what you're going to notice is now when we come through and we bring that in, of course, with the latest update, and now you're noticing para A, or parallel A, has a quantity of 2, right? Because we have 2 of them in this actual build out of the software. So guys, how is this looking? Very quiet out there. It's funny because whenever I thought about making this video, I didn't think a lot of people would show up. However, there's quite a few of you, which leaves me quite impressed that, you know, drawing still has its place. I think so big time, as a lot of people are finding out. It is going to drive me nuts. So if you guys want, I'm going to go ahead and poke around here a little bit because I really feel like there is a way to insert a exploded viewing or exploded view inside of here. I just can't remember it. So of course, we haven't talked about that. Maybe one of these days we'll talk about the other, but yeah, I just cannot remember. If anybody out there can remember how to insert an exploded view into this drawing, it's going to drive me mad. I think that's going to be my thing for the rest of the day. Guys, pay attention to our Facebook channel and our LinkedIn channel, because at some point, I'm probably going to figure it out, and then you're going to see a screenshot with me bragging about it. But before I go, I am going to let you guys know is yours truly over here. There's a lot of different ways to support this channel. As you guys know, you could like, subscribe, share our content, get it out to anybody and everybody that are asking those questions. You can buy yours truly a beer if you've learned something new here today and you want to give a little more. We also allow super chats. You can make jitcadcam your reseller if you have a commercial license of Autodesk inside the North America region. As well, we also everything from training to post-processor edits, as you guys have seen on my content. So as I always like to say, it's not what you know. You all know yours truly over here at jitcadcam. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys get back to your day. And I look forward to seeing all of you on Friday for our Free Support Friday.